Who would have thought that the warmth of friendship that has been displayed by two global icons of BTS, Park Jimin and Jungkook, suddenly turned into a spark of heated emotions in front of many people? Behind the smiles and laughter that they always show on the screen, there is a tension that has only been a secret behind the closed doors of the agency. And yet everything broke in an instant. And now, the K-pop world is shocked again with news that really makes the ARMY around the world unable to sleep peacefully. Jimin cried, and to his surprise, Jungkook became the trigger for an increasingly tense atmosphere to the limit that could not be suppressed. The issue first emerged from a video leaked to social media. The approximately 27-second video shows the atmosphere behind the BTS rehearsal stage, which is usually warm and full of jokes, but this time wrapped in an eerie silence. The sound of a bang sounded faint but clear. The figure who looked away while wiping away tears was none other than Jimin. Then another figure appeared to be standing stiffly with a hard face, a piercing gaze, and a voice that made the fans' hearts beat faster. It was Jungkook. "I've had enough of all this." Jungkook's allegedly strong voice sounded high and full of emotion. Those words broke the silent space, creating shockwaves among the staff watching, and even some of the other members who didn't seem to know what to do. Jimin, who is known as a gentle and sensitive figure, could not hold back tears. He looked down, did not speak, and just stood in the corner of the room like someone who had just suffered a deep emotional wound. The question is, what really happened? Is this just a small misunderstanding between two close friends who have been known as BTS's soulmates, or is there something much bigger and more terrible behind the scenes? An internal source, who declined to be named, said the conflict between Jimin and Jungkook had been heating up in recent months. Although in front of the camera they still show familiarity, behind the scenes there is a growing difference in views. This mainly concerns BTS's big plans after their enlistment period ends, including solo projects, spotlight distribution, and future activity priorities. And although the ARMY always believed that they would always be compact, the reality is sometimes much more complex and painful. It's not just about work, the source said. There are old wounds that were never talked about, never treated, and now they all come out at the same time. It was like a time bomb. They've been holding everything back for too long. And surprisingly, this conflict is not only verbal. It is said that there were sessions where Jungkook even chose to leave the room before practice was over, leaving the staff and Jimin sitting alone while being comforted by one of their managers. Hours after the incident, the hashtags #ProtectJimin and #JungkookY became trending around the world. ARMY divided. Some defended Jimin because he looked more emotional and hurt. Others tried to understand Jungkook's position, who had also shouldered tremendous pressure as a visual lead vocalist, as well as the group's main magnet. Does this mean BTS is starting to crack? A painful question to write, let alone read. But reality has to be faced. In all the greatness and success, there is a point of fatigue that sometimes cannot be helped by the love of fans alone. And this incident shows that even stars can break if they withstand the pressure for too long. Jimin's emotions seemed increasingly uncontrollable when in an unofficial interview with Japanese media staff. He was asked about BTS's schedule of activities after enlistment. Instead of answering as usual, Jimin just smiled stiffly and said softly, "Everything changed." Those words were followed by a blank look and an uncharacteristic smile. ARMY, who saw the snippet of the interview, immediately realized that something was wrong. Especially when I heard the news that Jimin suddenly canceled his solo training session for 2 days in a row. Though that schedule is crucial for their big comeback at the end of the year, the situation was further complicated when the agency, HYB, gave an official statement that made fans even more confused. They called the incident a minor misunderstanding that has been resolved internally, but did not give any details. Words that are too normative actually trigger wider speculation. Wouldn't it be if it was just a misunderstanding? There would be no crying like that? Wouldn't there be a hot atmosphere and a leaked video showing such a tense moment? Not stopping there, some netizens with large fanbase accounts began to reveal transcripts of internal chats between staff who had discussed the existence of serious friction between Jimin and Jungkook due to ego problems in preparation for a new project. Jungkook felt disrespected when his proposal was rejected in creative meetings, while Jimin was seen as too dominant in some decisions. In fact, the public has known them as two figures who support each other unconditionally, making the story even more emotional. One of the senior choreographers close to BTS posted a short message on his Instagram account that read, "Sometimes Even love is not enough to unite two tired souls. The phrase was immediately associated with Jimin and Jungkook's situation, leading thousands of fans to flood the comments with questions and wishes for the two to reconcile. Meanwhile, in a short live stream that Jungkook made suddenly in the evening after the incident, his face looked tired. His eyes were puffy, as if he had just cried. And although he did not name anyone directly, his words shook the souls of many fans. I am human. I could be wrong, too. But I also have a right to be heard. The sentence is like a double-edged knife. On the one hand, he seemed to show his vulnerable side that has been rarely seen. But on the other hand, the sentence can also be interpreted as self-defense for the incident that hurt Jimin. Fans are now at a crossroads of emotions. They wanted to support all the members impartially, but the pain of seeing Jimin cry could not be ignored. Moreover, BTS's history has been built on solidarity and affection between members who are considered more than just colleagues. However, will this be the first crack of a mansion called BTS? Or is it precisely this storm that will be the turning point that makes them stronger? While speculation continues to circulate, one source said that Jimin was considering taking a long break. It was even reported that he had discussed with management the possibility of postponing public activities for emotional healing. This is certainly very heavy news for the ARMY, who hope to see them perform together with the same passion as before. No less surprising, Taeyong aka V was seen giving a like to a post that said, "Sometimes silence hurts more than screaming." The fans immediately linked this as a signal that V knows more than he shows. Does this mean that he sided with one of the parties? Or is this a form of sympathy for a conflict that has actually been smoldering for a long time? The situation got even wilder when the issue emerged that HYB was preparing to hold a massive internal meeting, even bringing in professional psychologists to help BTS members manage their emotional distress. This is not a figment. One of the sources mentioned that the members' psychological balance is now the main focus because it is feared that this conflict could spread to relationships between other members. The ARMY did not remain silent. They started an online campaign titled #HealingForBTS, which calls for the agency to prioritize the emotional health of members over tight schedules and big projects. The campaign managed to attract hundreds of thousands of signatures in just 48 hours, proving that ARMY's love is not only for their performances on stage, but also for the peace of their hearts in real life. Now, the world is holding its breath waiting for the next step. Will Jimin and Jungkook sit together, heal wounds, and come back stronger than ever? Or is this the beginning of an emotional breakup that will slowly but surely change BTS's face forever? One thing is for sure, Jimin's tears have left a mark in everyone's hearts. And the tension brought by Jungkook, whether due to fatigue or accumulated feelings, has become a part of BTS's emotional history that will never be forgotten.